Jannik Sinner's ascent to the top of men's tennis has been marked by consistency, physical dominance, and a level-headed approach that has set him apart from many of his peers. But beneath the cool surface of the reigning world number one lies a shifting internal dynamic, one that has recently begun to surface through the unexpected restructuring of his team just ahead of some of the biggest moments in his career. The most recent of these shifts, his quiet but deliberate sacking of fitness coach Marco Panichi and physiotherapist Ulises Badio before Wimbledon 2025, initially came with minimal explanation. At first glance, it appeared to be a simple change of direction, perhaps a natural evolution of a player trying to refresh his approach at the highest level. But in the weeks that followed, new details emerged that suggest the story may be much deeper. In fact, it seems that the seeds of this decision were sown not in the gym or training sessions, but in the emotional fallout of one of Sinner's most painful defeats, the 2025 French Open final against Carlos Alcaraz. For those following closely, that final was not just a tennis match, it was a showdown between two players who represent the future of the sport. Sinner had reached the final at Roland Garros for the first time and looked set to win, but after blowing 3 championship points, he saw the title slip away to his rival Alcaraz. What followed was a wave of media speculation about the emotional toll the loss had taken, but it wasn't until Sinner's now former coach Panichi spoke to Italian media that the public got a glimpse behind the curtain. According to reports from Corriere della Sera, Sinner had broken down in tears in the locker room after the loss, crying for 15 minutes while struggling to process the defeat. Panichi shared these details publicly. In isolation, it may have seemed like an attempt to show Sinner's passion or humanity, but from the player's perspective, it likely felt like a breach of trust. What stings even more, perhaps, is the timing and the subject of the disclosure. Alcaraz has long been framed as Sinner's direct rival, a natural foil whose style and persona contrast sharply with Sinner's. That final in Paris added a deeply personal dimension to their rivalry. For Panichi to speak openly about Sinner's emotional state, especially following a loss to Alcaraz, would have risked not just embarrassing the world number one, but also revealing vulnerabilities that Sinner may have preferred to keep internal. In a sport where trust, secrecy, and team loyalty are often just as important as strategy and skill, that single interview may have crossed a line from which there was no return. It's not only Panichi who found himself out of the picture. Physiotherapist Ulises Badio was also dismissed. While Badio's exit was not tied to any specific controversy, it seems his fate was sealed by proximity. The two had joined Sinner's camp together after previously being part of Novak Djokovic's team, and Badio's role was closely linked to Panici's. Within the team, they were seen as something of a package. When one went, the other followed. In the words of some insiders, Badio was viewed as a collateral victim of the decision, a respected professional who simply ended up on the wrong side of a shifting internal dynamic. To the public, Sinner initially downplayed the changes. Ahead of Wimbledon, he insisted there was no major fallout or dramatic event that led to the split. No, nothing major happened, nothing big happened, he told reporters. I parted ways not long ago, but it's not affecting me. I feel ready to compete. I feel free. I feel me and my team, we are ready to do the best we can. His tone was firm and composed, dismissing speculation and thanking both Panichi and Badio for their contributions to his success. He even credited them for their role in getting him to the French Open final, calling it an amazing achievement. Yet despite his measured public response, Sinner later dropped subtle but telling hints about the true motivations behind the reshuffle. In discussing the type of people he wanted around him going forward, he said, I will also look for people who are suitable for the other people on the team. Communication is important for the group to function. You have to trust. We spend a lot of time together all year round. It's important to find the right people. Trust, communication, suitability. All of those phrases point toward a deeper discomfort within the previous team dynamic, one in which someone, or perhaps multiple people, had violated his expectations of discretion and loyalty. It wasn't a technical or tactical issue, but a personal one. In another unexpected twist, Sinner chose to bring back a familiar but controversial figure into his camp, Umberto Ferrara. Ferrara had previously served as Sinner's fitness trainer during the most transformative phase of his career, playing a key role in his rise to Grand Slam contention. But his last stint with Sinner had ended in dramatic fashion in 2024 when the Italian was embroiled in a doping scandal. That case revolved around 2 positive tests for clostebol, a banned anabolic steroid. At the time, the explanation given was that Sinner's physiotherapist Giacomo Naldi had used a medical spray containing the substance to treat a finger cut. Naldi had then continued to work on Sinner without wearing gloves, unintentionally transferring trace amounts of the steroid to the player. The source of the spray, Umberto Ferrara, who had recommended and provided the product in the first place. While Sinner was eventually cleared of intentional doping and only served a 3-month ban following a negotiated settlement settlement with WADA and the ITIA, both Naldi and Ferrara were dismissed from his team. Publicly, Sinner had stated that he could no longer continue working with individuals whose actions, however unintentional, had nearly derailed his career and tarnished his reputation. The fallout from the case was immense. Naldi became something of a scapegoat, bearing the brunt of the blame and facing public disgrace. Ferrara, despite not receiving formal sanctions, was seen by many as the root cause of the problem due to his pharmaceutical knowledge and poor judgment. So why, after all this, would Sinner choose to bring Ferrara back into the fold? One answer may lie in familiarity. For better or worse, Ferrara understands Sinner's body, rhythm, and conditioning profile better than anyone. It's no coincidence that Sinner won the 2024 Australian Open, his first Grand Slam, with Ferrara as part of his setup. From 2022 to early 2024, Sinner's physical transformation under Ferrara's guidance had been one of the most talked about developments in tennis. His stamina, his speed, his strength all improved remarkably. That stretch elevated him from a promising talent to a major title contender. And now, with the stakes at their highest, the Italian may have decided that performance comes before image. After all, at Wimbledon this year, he won without either Panichi or Badio by his side. Ferrara's return may signal a pivot back to what worked best before, regardless of public backlash. It also reflects a broader moment of transition within Sinner's camp. After Roland Garros, it was reported that both Panichi and Badio had been leaking sensitive team information during the French Open. Some believe their prior connection to Novak Djokovic may have played a role in those leaks, although this remains unconfirmed. The fact remains that after their departure, Sinner's setup shrank significantly. He entered Wimbledon with just Simone Vignozzi and without a proper fitness coach or full-time physio. With Darren Cahill taking time off for family reasons, Sinner has relied heavily on a reduced team structure. Bringing Ferrara back fills a critical gap before the US Open, where Sinner is looking to complete an extraordinary year, one in which he has already won Wimbledon and could potentially reach all 4 Slam finals in a single season. Still, the decision carries risk. Ferrara may be trusted by Sinner, but he remains a controversial figure in the eyes of the public and the media. Critics like Nick Kyrgios have not forgotten the events of 2024. Kyrgios was one of the first to speak out when Ferrara was reinstated, posting on social media, "He got the same doc back. We have been played, ladies and gentlemen." The statement went viral, reigniting debates around the scandal and bringing back uncomfortable questions about accountability, transparency, and what kind of message this sends to fans and young athletes. It's not just about Sinner and Ferrara anymore. It's about the standards of professionalism in tennis, the culture of second chances, and whether sporting success can come at the cost of principle. Meanwhile, Giacomo Naldi, the man who directly applied the contaminated substance, remains out of the spotlight. In a brief but emotional statement to Italian media, he said, "Here we go again. Now the nightmare begins again, like last summer." He didn't name Sinner or Ferrara, but the pain was evident. He had been discarded and forgotten, while the man who gave him the spray was welcomed back. To many, this feels like a double standard. One man is forgiven, the other is exiled. What does that say about fairness in tennis? As the US Open approaches, the spotlight on Sinner intensifies. Every decision he makes, every victory he earns, will be subject to deeper scrutiny than ever before. The return of Ferrara may help him chase glory, but it will also come with questions about loyalty, trust, and where the line between professionalism and personal judgment should be drawn. The team behind a tennis player is often invisible until something goes wrong. In this case, the decisions made off court may become just as defining as the ones Sinner makes with a racket in hand.